Right now, time to welcome in James Williams to talk about identity theft with us here on the Talk of the Town at 100.7 FM WUTQ.
And I'm excited. James is in the spirit. He has that tie on that you mentioned, and I'm liking it. I love it.
Yeah, a little Halloween theme there. Do you have a collection of ties, James, for different seasons and different holidays? Or?
You know, this is the only Halloween tie I have.
Yeah, just get that microphone a little closer to you there, please. There.
The only Halloween tie I have. The kids have gotten me quite a few for the Christmas season. A little more in the spirit of that.
Pretty soon you'll be wearing those. So.
Yeah, and reminds me that we'll have to get together before the holidays come to maybe do kind of our annual Protect Consumers as the holiday seasons approach.
Sure, yeah. Shopping online, I'm sure those are all topics as well.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes along with the conversation we've been having here over the past few days. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, or maybe I'm sure the Attorney General's office has some information on this. But Dave's wife, victim of one of these scanning devices that him and I were talking about it, and we don't really even know what they are, what they entail, how small they are, how they can be placed.
Yeah.
But
this one was at an ATM machine at the Albany train station in Rensselaer, actually, and she was on her way to New York and used the ATM there, and then soon found out that her identity had been hacked, and some criminals had charged up over $4,000 on a credit card. So how do those skimming machines work, and is there a way that average consumers can be aware of the circumstances where they might be used?
That's unfortunate that happened. But what it's like is whack-a-mole. It truly, every day, the more law enforcement tries to preempt these activities, the criminals are just figuring out ways around us. And these scanning devices are just another development. It used to be with the remote controls, they could open car garage doors, and it just keeps advancing from there. And yes, Attorney General Snyderman is actually this is a main focus of his office. And having heard that, Dave, I've brought in actually just some of the pamphlets that the Attorney General's office has. We have Protect Your Identity and Don't Become a Victim of Identity Theft, and we also have a Smart Seniors program, which actually includes part of identity theft. But I'm going to leave these here for you guys here. If anybody in the public out there has concerns, has questions, has been a victim of identity theft, we direct them to go to the Attorney General's website. Just go to the New York State Attorney General, type that in Google or whatever your search engine is, and type in identity theft, and that'll bring you right into the Attorney General's webpage. And go in there. You can download some of these pamphlets. If you're uncomfortable with the internet, you can contact the Utica Regional Office. We're glad to you can stop by and pick up some materials there, or we're glad to get them out to you.
Are certain ATM machines more susceptible than others depending on what area they are in a given city, or what type of building, or whether they're outside or inside or anything like that?
You know what, Dave? I really can't answer that question. That's more of a technological question that I'm just not that familiar with on the ATMs. Obviously, going to the ATM at your local bank that you utilize is going to be the safest process from there. Probably utilizing the ATMs at other banks, even if it's not yours, you're going to pay the service charge to use that ATM machine there. But again, the banks are right there. They're monitoring it. When you start using, and as you've mentioned, what this is systemic of is the increase of ATM machines everywhere. I was reading with the former Laker who got himself jammed up there in Nevada. They have an ATM machine right there at the facility he was at. So they didn't want to take the credit cards. You can go right over there. Now, is that going to be a safe ATM? Well, it's unsafe for other things, but we don't know about the ATM machines there. But there's two parts to this. What you can do to protect yourself from identity theft before it happens, and what steps you can take after it happens. Obviously, with anything involving consumers, we encourage people be cautious of what you're doing ahead of time. Keep accurate records. We have a situation right now. We're actually investigating identity theft with involving a potential state agency, which contracted out with another group. So we're looking at. So it's everywhere. The biggest thing is to keep track of what your expenditures are. Credit cards, when you get your annual statement, a lot of people have automatic payment, the monthly payments, so they just click their payment for each month and they don't bother to look at their statements. You have to look at your statements. I believe you have the 30 days to contest the charge that's on there. Afterwards, your liability can start going up a little bit.
And in a situation with Dave and his wife here, I know you guys turned this right around. The banks were cooperative,
right?
And how much do you see that happening? Are the banks being more aware of this, or do you guys work with the banks to ensure that if something like this happens, it's easily identified that you were compromised and it wasn't just yourself or some family member that took your card and used it? I know, in his instance, the charges were online and maybe some places that his wife wouldn't use them.
Right. The banks, for years, and you may have heard this, for years, people always kind of poo-pooed what would happen with the credit cards, as well as just the credit card companies, and you're not going to be charged, and it's just, and so people, what they didn't understand is this does come back and increases on fees that are charged and interest rates and everything else. So it does impact the society in whole on that. With the ATM cards, and Dave, you probably found this out, if you report within 2 days of the ATM situation, your liability caps, I believe, at $50. If you don't do it within 2 days, it goes up to $500.
Right.
Up to, I think, 60 days. And I'm not sure after that. So, you have to keep track and get those reports out there. Same with your credit cards. You've got to keep track of it and get it out there. And what you do is, obviously, what you did there is the right thing. You contact the bank. You contact your ATM card. You close out the account immediately. Right. You'll get a new account. You'll get a new password. Passwords are a whole industry in and of themselves. It used to be password. That was your password. Password. Or, 1, 2, 3, or your birthday and everything else. So the stronger your password, the more protection you have on that. But again, criminals, they're sophisticated. They have these algorithms, and they just go through and they can come up with the easy passwords. But same with your credit cards. You have to get out there. You notify the credit card companies. If you are a victim of credit card theft, or identity theft, notify law enforcement. And you're going to want to notify law enforcement in 2 areas. You want to notify the law enforcement in the area where the theft may have occurred, i.e., let's say somebody gets a hold of your credit card and they make a purchase. We're here in New York. They make a purchase in California, in Riverside, California. Contact Riverside law enforcement. Give them all the information there. Now, are they going to rush right out and solve that? Probably not. All law enforcement budgets are strapped and everything else, but it's going to be on record, and they're going to have a history of it there.
Documentation is
exactly, and then notify local law enforcement of what happened here.
Talking to James Williams from the New York Attorney General's office here on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM WUTQ. You mentioned Eric Snyderman, your boss, had called for an investigation into fantasy sports recently. Where's that going right now? What's the latest on that?
Still ongoing. It's an open investigation, and the Attorney General is always looking to make sure that consumers are protected, whatever the entity. So just keeping an eye on that, and we'll just see where it goes out.
How long do you expect that'll be before we might learn something? How long does an open investigation take? Can it vary?
It can vary. It could be several days, several weeks, several months, several years. I'm gonna take a play from the Republican debate the other night. Are you kidding me? I'm here. We're going to talk about fantasy football. Let's move on. Let's get to the issues.
That was Chris Christie the other night for sure. He was upset about that.
Yeah, he did get worked up. But back to the identity theft issue. Some of the key components in which folks can focus on to protect themselves, or if they are a victim of identity theft. Maybe some of the things that you mentioned contacting them, but I guess let's get back to the first question. The idea before this happens. Some of the things that you can look at, you can really pay attention to.
Well, again, and I'm not recommending this to the people, but some people do this, is they may have a series of credit cards, and each credit card is utilized for one purpose only. It may be for if you like to eat out on a regular basis and use different facilities, you use that credit card for those facilities. If you shop a lot online, you have one credit card for shopping online. If you do in-person purchases, that type of thing. So it's a lot easier. Now, this is for someone who's very organized, and they like to keep track of exactly where. And again, let me preface, too, by saying, as with everything, 99% of the entities that are out there are law-abiding, good restaurants, good workers, good contractors, everything. And it's that small minority that's out there that causes the problems and causes the damages. But the damages are so great, we have to keep track of that. So, and always keeping track of your records.
Big part
exactly.
of it.
Big part of it. Where your bank, again, with your bank accounts, with your checks. Always, you should be, balancing your checkbook on a regular basis. What checks are out there? Follow up when you write the check. How long has it been out there? Hey, don't forget if you sent the money, to your niece or family, whatever. Follow up. Did you receive it? Did you cash it?
Is there a change, an increase, a decrease, maybe in the spectrum that folks are being affected? Dave and I, we were talking about this, that, even children that are, young age, they have that information, their Social Security number, is available. They are being used to create, different identities in their names. And then the whole other different spectrum, the senior citizens and some of the scams and things that they face.
Absolutely.
More widespread?
It's increasing. Yeah, it's regularly increasing. I mean, our population as a country is up to 330 million. We're over 7 billion in the world. So, and as I said, the criminals are becoming more and more sophisticated. The United States itself, we had a security breach at our own computer system there where military and veterans' IDs and stuff was compromised there. They had the infamous Target. So, I mean, it's just they're increasing and they're more and more sophisticated. As we become more internet and computer-based and electronic-based, it just increases the opportunities there. With the infants, it's an interesting point, and this, this has been around for a long time. And in fact, you may have heard the stories back in World War II where siblings with large families really wanted to enlist, and you would have young men who were 15 or 16 would take the birth certificate of an infant sibling who had passed away to enlist. So I mean, we're going back 60, 70 years. Now that was certainly for a different issue, but it is happening in today's world as well. And that's an important part of what you mentioned is your Social Security number. Keeping your Social Security number private at all costs. Banks, financial institutions, health insurers, those are the ones that may have the need in the tax, the IRS and the tax departments having the need for your Social Security number. Other than that, it's very limited. But the society in general, because it is such an individual number, what a great way, we have to give you an ID number when you sign up for the video club or whatever it is you want.
Right.
Give us your Social Security number.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
why do you really need you don't need my Social Security number. Well, we're not going to let you be a member. Okay, great. A lot of times they don't have to let you be a member, but you don't have to give them your Social Security number.
Yeah.
So you need to protect that at all costs. And again, financial institutions and banks, they're not going to be contacting you.
Right.
You're going to contact them. And if they do contact you, they're going to say, we've received information on a potential security breach. Please contact our security number. Now, do some research before you do that. Maybe Google it online, see what comes up. Oh, yeah, that does seem to be their number. And they're going to have the information when you give it back to them. But they're not going to say, oh, can you verify your account number? We have, because they may only have 4 numbers, and they're waiting for you to verify.
And you always see that, that the fine print, what we do and what we don't share with, third party folks. How instrumental is that? Being aware of what these institutions do, or the movie club that you sign up for, how they use your information.
That's an important part, and you will get the privacy disclosure statements that these companies send out to you. And yeah, take your time and read it. And they do have the opt-out agreements. You can always opt out, and you should be aware of those, and you should follow through with them if that's what you want to do.
And I know sometimes you guys are focusing and targeting on specifics. Any specific scams or specific areas that folks need to be aware of? I know we're gearing up for the holiday season.
Right. Again, it's just an ongoing situation, and they're changing every day. And unfortunately, the situation is we're trying to do it preventively. Trying to get the money after it's gone is almost impossible. But let me also mention that the big thing you have to do, too, is check your credit history. You have the 3 main credit reporting bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, and there's also 4, I guess, now. Innovis, I'm not that familiar with. But you're entitled to a free credit report every year. Take advantage of that. Get that credit report. If there is an issue with your security being breached, you can put a freeze on your accounts, all your credit. The first one is free. I think a follow-up is $5 or something. It's like 90 days. So, but always get your credit reports, follow through on those, and keep track of that. Again, after it's happened, report it. Report it to local law enforcement. We're more statewide. We're gathering it from there, and we're just kind of keeping track. But for the most part, we're not going to be able to go back in and get that money unless we have some kind of systemic action that's going statewide.
So I guess the bottom line, like anything, look at what's going on and protect yourself or protect your entity. I mean, you don't you don't just let your car fall apart while the brakes are bad. So you look at what you can and how you can improve those things.
Exactly. And the same thing with your driver's license, health insurance, anything. Again, because we have so much information that's out there, has potential of doing you harm if it gets in the wrong hands.
All right, James, Halloween candies tonight at your house. What do you got?
Probably not tonight. We'll wait for tomorrow for the.
I mean, tomorrow. Yeah, I meant for tomorrow night. I'm sorry, but
we're actually we're in a strange situation. We live in kind of a rural area, and I don't think that we've ever had any kids. Which my kids love because we still get the candy. We put it out.
Right.
I shouldn't tell that for the kids that are in the neighborhood. We do put it out. We put it out in a bucket out on our porch in case anybody does come by. They never do, so the kids are excited to come back. But we'll go into the local village, and they'll all go around.
Great.
In fact, one of the costumes, the kids, I'd mentioned this, and they came up. Their idea is they're going to be identity theft themselves. You can have the stickers, and they can put people's names on them and stick them on their chest as they go through. So different things from
all right.
there.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.